Hey guys, what's going on? It's Hefty here with another comic talk with Hefty. Sorry this one's a little late. I'll try and be better and get one up next Saturday. But I got some great picks for you this week. We got a classic Marvel story. We got an independent comic that you gotta check out, and we have a current Marvel comic that you should pick up at your local comic book store if you aren't already. So let's get right into it. The first one I want to talk about is a classic Marvel story. This one's been mentioned in pop culture websites for the last couple of years. There was talk about Sony doing a movie based off of it, or at least off of the character. After what happened with Morbius, I don't know if that's still on the table. I don't know if it's just gonna, die a quiet death. But regardless, if you're a fan of Spider-Man, if you're a fan of good graphic novel storytelling, you gotta check this one out. It is one of the classic Spider-Man stories, and I'm talking about Kraven's Last Hunt. So, for those of you that are familiar with Kraven, let me give you a little bit of background. He was one of Spider-Man's first villains. He first showed up in Amazing Spider-Man 15 back in what would that have been, like 1964. Uh, and his basic gist was he was a big game hunter from over in Africa who drank like magic jungle potions to get super strength and agility and like one does. There were a lot of strange creations back in the early 60s when Marvel was first starting out. They weren't all home runs. But so he comes over to New York because he sees that Spider-Man is now swinging around. He looks at Spider-Man as like the greatest game, and he got his butt whooped like time and time again. For the next 20 years, Kraven was kind of a joke character, kind of like the villain that shows up when the writers have kind of run out of ideas and they just need a filler issue. Um, no one ever really took him seriously. I mean, look at him. I mean, he's wearing a half lion head vest thing. I don't know. But then Kraven's Last Hunt came out, written by J.M. DeMatteis and artwork by Mike Zeck. And I mean, Mike Zeck was a fantastic Marvel artist back in the 80s, and this is some of his finest work. This ran in this ran for 2 months in Amazing Spider-Man, Spectacular Spider-Man, and Web of Spider-Man. Back in, I believe it was 87 or 88. I should have looked that up before the video, but I was just too excited to get this up and running for you. So in this one, Craven's finally come up with an idea of like how to beat Spider-Man like for good. And I don't want to give too much away, but he's successful. Uh, this story is one of the darkest Spider-Man stories I've personally ever read. I think it's just one of the darkest in general. But it's so well written, and the artwork is fantastic. The storytelling between the writing and the storytelling of the artwork is just amazing. And it really deconstructs the idea of what Spider-Man is, of who Peter Parker is. And it's just a fascinating tale. If you haven't read it, you should definitely check it out. And by the way, uh, another neat little thing about the storyline, you might have noticed it right here. This is back when Spider-Man has a black costume. Um, he first got his a black costume in the miniseries Secret Wars. It was the alien costume that down the road ends up becoming Venom. At this point, he no longer has the alien costume, but he kind of liked the look, so he made himself an actual non-alien version of the costume. So Spider-Man's running around in the awesome black and white, which I always thought was a pretty neat look. But yeah, go check this out. As always, I'll put a link in the description on where you can pick up a copy of this. It is definitely top five best Spider-Man storylines ever. Pretty quick read. You could probably knock it out in an hour or two, but it's definitely worth checking out. And if they do end up making a Kraven movie, like they talked about before, now you can tell your friends that you're in the know and why the character is so cool. All right. Next one we got going on here, the independent comic of the week I want to talk about. This was a fantastic comic that ran from 2002 to 2016. put out by DC Comics Vertigo imprint. Vertigo it was their mature audiences imprint. Sadly, it's defunct now, but it came up with some great series. It started off even before it was called Vertigo with things like Swamp Thing, Hellblazer, which is where Constantine comes from. They ended up doing Sandman. They had Preacher, another one of my favorite comics. Every one of those comics I mentioned are amazing. But in 2002, they started the series uh, called Fables. And if anyone ever watched Once Upon a Time, this is going to sound a little familiar, but just bear with me here. Uh, so the idea here is that all the fairy tale characters that we knew growing up actually existed, and they lived in their own worlds, their own lands, etc. Uh, just doing their thing. And along comes this big bad called the adversary, who one by one is overtaking the kingdoms. And it's pretty neat how much stuff is in public domain that I wasn't even aware of before the series started. So not only are we talking about stuff like, all the Disney classics, like, Snow White, Cinderella, Beauty and the Beast, all that, but like the Land of Oz, we're talking about the Land of Narnia, all of that stuff, that is all contained in this as well. So the adversary is going across the whatever multiverse. They never really get too specific with exactly how that works, and just overtaking these lands. And so all these fables, which is what they're called, the characters, they're called fables, have to leave, and they end up coming to Earth, to New York City, because in comic books, pretty much everything happens in New York City, uh, unless you're DC. Um, and take up residence there. They start their own little fable town. And you have characters like Old King Cole is the mayor. Snow White's the deputy mayor. The Big Bad Wolf is like the one cop or detective in town. Um, Prince Charming is a philanderer. He's going around. He's a scrub. No, I guess not. Scrub's not the right word, but like whatever a male version of a gold digger is. Like he's going around shacking up with all the princesses and basically mooching off of them until they get sick of him and throw him out. Um, there's a lot of great characters in this. Pinocchio is absolutely hilarious. Uh, it's definitely worth checking out. And despite everything I just said, how it might sound, it's actually a really mature comic. Um, there's lots of bloody violence, lots of swearing, lots of adult situations. It is, and no shade thrown towards Once Upon a Time because I think it was a very successful show. Um, it's what I wish Once Upon a Time would have been. It's a great series. It originally ran for 150 issues, all of which are collected into affordable trade paperbacks. And the reason I brought this up now is they just relaunched it with issue 151 a few weeks ago with a new 12-part storyline that'll be happening over the course of the next year. I don't know if it's going to continue past that, but I'm looking forward to reading it after all these years. So you can check that out as well. So I guess technically this would be a new comic recommendation as well. But again, link will be in the description on where you can pick up the trade paperbacks for this. And then finally, my current comic recommendation for the month, and this one is, or I'm sorry, for the week, and this one's only on issue 3 right now, is the new Punisher series. You guys all know Punisher. I don't really have to tell you who he is or what he's about. This new series is written by Jason Aaron, who I am a fan of. A big part of the upcoming Thor: Love and Thunder movie is based off of Jason Aaron's run on Thor, and honestly, I'm probably going to recommend Thor here in the next couple weeks. His run, I always liked the character, but never really liked his series. But it was Jason Aaron's run that actually got me into reading it on a monthly basis. But I digress. Let's talk about Punisher. So this one, like I said, it's only on issue 3, so you can still run out and pick up the first couple of issues, get caught up. But the basic idea behind this new series, which I think is really interesting, So Punisher has been going around for, decades, like knocking out bad guys, right? Organized crime, drug cartels, getting involved in some, heavier hitters like the Kingpin, stuff like that. But it's always been a myopic vision of what he's trying to do, right? You're a bad guy, you're a criminal, he's going to come kill you. And it's been that way ever since his family got slaughtered in a mob attack in Central Park. Well, this time around, what's going on is he's going after the Hand, the ninjas that you guys might know from the Daredevil series, and he gets this crazy offer from one of the higher ups in the Hand, actually. Hey, Frank, you become like our grandmaster killer god guy. Like you become like the ultimate Hand assassin, and we'll bring your family back. I'm not sure. I can't say that I've read every single Punisher comic. I don't think the idea of ever bringing back Frank's wife and children has ever been touched. I could be wrong. Please correct me in the comments. If I am wrong, let me know when it happened because I would be interested in checking that out. But this puts Frank in a really interesting position where, you know, after all these years, what's more important to him? His mission or regaining that he lost? Um, I'm very interested to see where the storyline goes. It's already had a couple twists that have surprised me. Uh, the artwork is very nice, and some of the upcoming bad guys that they've been teasing has me pretty interested. So that's it, guys. These are my three recommendations for this week. Make sure you check out Kraven's Last Hunt, check out Fables, check out the new Punisher series. Again, links will be in the description for the trade paperbacks for Kraven and Fables. But if you want extra super cool bonus points, please, please, please check out where your local comic shop is. Head on over there. Ask them to show you where the graphic novels are. Let's support our small businesses uh, and uh, and enjoy. I'll talk to you guys next week.